The warm December breeze swept through the open windows of the Plaza Hotel in New York City, carrying with it the promise of a new year and the distant sounds of Times Square preparing for its famous celebration. Victoria Ashford adjusted the diamond necklace around her neck as she observed her reflection in the mirror of the presidential suite. At 38 years old, she was the heir to one of the largest real estate empires in America, possessing a classic beauty that turned heads wherever she went, but which had long ceased to bring her any real satisfaction. Another party, she murmured to herself, smoothing down the burgundy silk dress that had cost more than many Americans earned in a year. Her phone vibrated for the 10th time that hour. Messages from Patricia, Rachel, Jennifer, Catherine, and Diana, the 5 women who orbited her life like planets around a wealthy and distant sun, all confirming their attendance at the New Year's Eve party she had organized in the hotel's grand ballroom. Victoria sighed. She knew the game well. Patricia wanted investments for her art gallery. Rachel sought political connections through the Ashford family. Jennifer desired the status of being seen at her side in society columns. Catherine aimed for a merger between their tech companies. And Diana, well, Diana simply wanted everything the Ashford money could buy. None of them truly saw her. None of them cared about the woman behind the fortune. Descending to the plaza's main ballroom, Victoria was immediately enveloped by the opulence of the party. Bohemian crystal chandeliers reflected golden light over 300 guests in formal attire. The orchestra played jazz standards while servers circulated with trays of French champagne and elaborate canapes. "Victoria, you look stunning." Patricia approached first, a red sequined dress hugging her slender frame. Her green eyes sparkled with calculated intensity. "We need to talk about that proposal I sent you." Imagine the prestige of having an Ashford as the principal investor in my gallery. Before Victoria could respond, Rachel interrupted, her hand landing possessively on the heiress's arm. "Excuse me, Patricia, but Victoria promised to introduce me to the senator tonight. Politics before art, darling." Her black off-shoulder dress accentuated her tanned shoulders, and she smiled with the confidence of someone accustomed to getting what she wanted. Ladies. Jennifer joined the group, her shimmering gold dress making her look like a walking champagne flute. "Victoria barely arrived and you're already suffocating her. Let the woman breathe." She winked at Victoria. "I saved a special spot for us in the VIP area for the fireworks." Catherine emerged from the other side, always the pragmatic businesswoman in her minimalist white silk dress. "Victoria, I brought the contracts we discussed. A merger between Ashford Properties and Tech Vision would be revolutionary for the American market. I just need your signature." And then came Diana, late as always, gliding between people in an emerald green dress that rivaled the decorations themselves. "Sorry I'm late, girls. Traffic was impossible," she air-kissed near Victoria's face. "But it was worth it. I bought a special gift for you, darling. Something you'll love." Victoria felt the familiar tightness in her chest. 5 beautiful, intelligent, successful women. 5 women who would watch her money disappear tomorrow and never look in her direction again. That's when she saw her. If you're already enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next chapters. Hit that notification bell because this story is just beginning, and what's coming will touch your heart. Among the coming and going of servers, a young woman caught her attention in a way Victoria couldn't explain. She carried a tray of champagne flutes, with a natural elegance that contrasted with the simple Plaza Hotel server uniform. Impeccable white shirt, fitted black vest, and black trousers. Her chestnut brown hair was pulled back in a professional ponytail, revealing a face with delicate features and warm tan skin, but it was her eyes that captivated Victoria. Deep brown, full of a vitality and honesty she hadn't seen in years within her social circle. The server approached the group where Victoria was surrounded by the 5 suitors. "Champagne, ladies?" Her voice was soft but firm, with a slight Brooklyn accent that revealed her origins in the city's simpler neighborhoods. "Finally!" Diana grabbed a flute without even looking at the young woman. "The service is so slow today." Victoria saw the slight tremor in the server's jaw, but she maintained her professional smile. When their eyes met for a brief second, Victoria felt something strange, an instant connection, as if she recognized someone she had never seen before. "Thank you," Victoria said softly, taking a flute and holding the young woman's gaze for a moment longer than necessary. The server blinked, surprised by the genuine kindness, and a slight blush rose to her cheeks. "You're welcome, ma'am. If you need anything else, I'll be around." She made a small bow and walked away, but Victoria couldn't help but follow her with her eyes. "Victoria, are you listening to me?" Patricia's irritated voice brought her back. "Sorry, what did you say?" "I was talking about the artists I've selected for the first exhibition. They're all emerging, very talented." Patricia continued talking, but Victoria was no longer listening. Her eyes searched the ballroom, looking for that chestnut ponytail, those honest eyes. She found her near the bar, laughing at something another server had said. The smile completely transformed her face, making her radiant. "Excuse me," Victoria interrupted Patricia mid-sentence, ignoring the woman's offended look. "I need to get something to drink." "But you already have champagne in your hand," Rachel pointed out, confused. "I want water. I'm thirsty." It was a weak excuse, but Victoria was already walking away toward the bar. The server was organizing glasses when Victoria approached. Up close, she was even more beautiful. There were small freckles on her nose, and her lips curved naturally upward, as if she held a happy secret. "Hello," Victoria said, and her own voice sounded strange to her ears. Nervous, almost shy, the young woman turned around, and her eyes widened slightly upon recognizing Victoria. "Good evening, ma'am. Can I help you with something?" "My name is Victoria." She extended her hand, an unusual gesture between a millionaire guest and a hotel employee. The server hesitated for only a second before shaking her hand. Her skin was warm, and her hands had small calluses, hands that worked hard. "Emily. Emily Rodriguez. Emily," Victoria repeated, liking how the name sounded. "That's a beautiful name. Thank you." Emily withdrew her hand, somewhat disconcerted. "Do you need something specific, ma'am? I can bring water, juice, or perhaps something from the kitchen?" "Actually," Victoria hesitated, feeling strangely vulnerable. "I was wondering if you could tell me about yourself. Have you worked here long?" Emily blinked, clearly surprised by the interest. She looked around as if checking whether any supervisor was nearby. 6 months. It's a temporary job. I'm saving to pay for college. College for what?" "Nursing." Emily's face lit up when talking about it. "I've always wanted to care for people. My grandmother raised me and my 2 younger siblings alone after my parents passed away in an accident when I was 8. She was everything to us, and now she's sick. I want to be able to take care of her and other people who need it." The sincerity in Emily's words touched something deep in Victoria. Here was someone with real purpose, with dreams that didn't involve money or status, but rather making a difference in other people's lives. "That's admirable," Victoria said honestly. "Your grandmother must be very proud of you." "She's my inspiration," Emily smiled, but then her smile faltered. "I'm sorry, Miss Victoria, but I shouldn't be talking like this during work. I could get in trouble if my supervisor notices." "You won't get in trouble. I guarantee it." Victoria was about to say something else when she felt a possessive hand on her shoulder. "There you are." Jennifer appeared at her side, casting a disdainful look at Emily. "We were looking for you everywhere. What are you doing here at the bar talking to the—" She didn't even bother to finish the sentence, as if Emily were invisible. "I was getting to know Emily," Victoria said firmly. "She's telling me about her nursing studies." Jennifer laughed, a high and unpleasant sound. "How fascinating. But darling, the fireworks start in 40 minutes, and you haven't taken a photo with us yet. Come on, all the social media photographers are waiting." Victoria cast an apologetic look at Emily, who had returned to her professional posture, her face carefully neutral. "It was a pleasure meeting you, Emily." "Likewise, Miss Victoria." Emily made a polite bow and quickly walked away. As Jennifer dragged her back to the group, Victoria looked back one last time. Emily was serving other guests, but for a brief moment, their eyes met across the crowded ballroom, and Victoria saw something there that made her heart race, a connection, a mutual interest, a possibility. The rest of the evening became an elaborate torture. The 5 women constantly competed for her attention, each trying to outdo the other. Patricia talked incessantly about art and culture. Rachel monopolized conversations about politics and business. Jennifer insisted on dragging Victoria to photo sessions for her social media. Catherine presented graphs and profit projections on her phone, and Diana simply hung on her arm like an expensive accessory, smiling at everyone as if they were already a couple. But Victoria's eyes kept seeking Emily throughout the ballroom. She saw her circulating among the guests. Always efficient, always kind, even when treated with disdain or completely ignored. Victoria noticed how Emily helped an elderly lady find a chair, how she genuinely smiled at the children present, how she discreetly cleaned up a broken glass without making a fuss. There was an intrinsic kindness in her that Victoria rarely saw in her world of appearances and interests. 20 minutes before midnight, Victoria finally managed to free herself from the suffocating circle of the 5 suitors. Using the excuse of going to the restroom, she quickly walked away before any of them could offer to accompany her. But instead of going to the restroom, Victoria followed a side corridor that led to the hotel's service area. Her heart beat faster, a mixture of nervousness and excitement she hadn't felt in years. What was she doing? Why was she following a server she barely knew? But something about Emily pulled her like a magnet. She found the service area partially hidden behind double doors. There, away from the party's spotlight, various staff members worked at a frantic pace, restocking trays, washing dishes, preparing the final service before midnight. Emily was there, carefully filling champagne flutes. Her shoulders were slightly tense, revealing the fatigue of hours on her feet. "Emily?" The young woman turned abruptly, almost knocking over a glass. "Miss Victoria. What? How?" She looked around, clearly worried. "You shouldn't be here. This is the staff area. I know. But I wanted to talk to you away from all that chaos." Victoria approached, conscious of how her designer dress contrasted with the simple environment. "I'm sorry if I'm putting you in an uncomfortable position." Emily put the champagne bottle on the table, her eyes cautious but curious. "Why would a woman like you want to talk to me? We're from completely different worlds." "Exactly why?" Victoria surprised herself with her own honesty. "I spent the entire evening surrounded by people from my world, and none of them truly see me. But when I looked at you, I felt something different." A blush rose to Emily's cheeks. "Miss Victoria, with all due respect, you have 5 gorgeous women out there competing for your attention. Women from your social level, with refined education, with interest in my money," Victoria completed. "Not in me." Emily opened her mouth to respond, but was interrupted by another server who entered hurriedly. "Emily, I need more glasses in the main ballroom. And you," he looked at Victoria with suspicion, "shouldn't be here, ma'am." "I'm leaving now," Victoria said quickly. She looked at Emily one more time. "Can we talk after midnight, please?" Before Emily could answer, Victoria had already left, her heart racing and her hands trembling slightly. What was happening to her? Why did a simple conversation with a server leave her so nervous? Back in the ballroom, the group received her with a flood of complaints. "Where were you?" Diana asked, her tone accusatory. 15 minutes until midnight and you disappear?" "I was getting some air," Victoria lied. "Well, now you're here, and that's what matters." Catherine pointed to the windows overlooking Central Park. "I chose the best spot for us to watch the fireworks. Come." The 5 women practically pushed her to the privileged location near the windows. Outside, Times Square was packed with millions of people, all awaiting the magical moment of the new year. Victoria positioned herself among them, feeling trapped. Rachel to her right, Patricia to her left, Jennifer behind her, Catherine and Diana completing the circle. It was like being in a golden cage. Her eyes searched for Emily again. She found her near the ballroom entrance, holding an empty tray, watching the guests prepare for the countdown. There was a melancholic expression on her face, as if she too felt trapped in her own world. 10 minutes to midnight, the party announcer declared, and the crowd exploded in celebration. The 5 women around Victoria began positioning themselves strategically, each trying to get closer to her for the midnight kiss. "Victoria, remember when we met at that event in Los Angeles?" Patricia began, her voice soft. "I felt an immediate connection." "Don't be ridiculous, Patricia," Rachel interrupted. "Victoria and I have much more in common. We both understand the business world, difficult decisions. Please, Jennifer rolled her eyes. You two are so pragmatic you can't even enjoy a good party. Victoria needs someone who makes her smile, who enjoys life. As if you were deep enough for that, Catherine murmured. Victoria needs an intellectual partner, someone visionary. You're all wrong, Diana declared, possessively linking her arm with Victoria's. Victoria needs someone who truly loves her. And I love you, darling. Since the day we met. Victoria heard them arguing about her as if she weren't there, as if she were a prize to be won, not a person with feelings and desires of her own. 5 minutes, the announcer shouted. People began crowding even closer to the windows. The tension in the air was palpable, a mixture of expectation, hope, and nostalgia that always accompanied the turn of the year. Victoria felt suffocated. The 5 women were so close she could barely breathe, all talking at once, all promising things, all wanting something from her. Her eyes found Emily once more. The server had moved to a quieter corner of the ballroom, and for a moment, just for a moment, their gazes locked across the crowd. And in that instant, Victoria made a decision. 3 minutes. Victoria, about that investment, Patricia began. No, Victoria said softly. What? No. Her voice became firmer. No to the investment. No to the merger. No to the photos. No to the contracts. No to all of this. The 5 women looked at her in shock. Victoria, what are you talking about? Rachel asked, her voice tense. I'm talking about being tired. Victoria began to move away from the group. Tired of being seen as a bank account. Tired of being treated as a means to an end. Tired of pretending I don't see through all of you. You're being dramatic. Diana tried to grab her arm, but Victoria pulled away. 2 minutes. I'm not being dramatic. I'm being honest. For the first time in a long time, I'm being honest. Victoria looked at each of them. You're intelligent, beautiful, talented women. But none of you truly care about me. You care about my last name, my bank account, my connections. That's not fair, Patricia protested. Isn't it? Then tell me, does any of you know my favorite color, or my favorite book? Or what truly makes me happy? The silence that followed was eloquent. Are you enjoying the story? Then don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Share with that friend who loves true love stories. The best part is still to come. 1 minute. The crowd began the collective countdown. 60, 59, 58. Victoria completely moved away from the group of stunned women and began walking through the ballroom, her heart pounding in her chest. 45, 44. She passed celebrating guests, families embracing, couples already positioning themselves for the midnight kiss. 30, 29, 28. Her eyes searched frantically. Where was Emily? Where had she gone? 20, 19, 18. She was no longer in the main ballroom. Victoria crossed through the side door leading to the service corridors. 10, 9, 8. She found Emily standing near a window in the corridor, looking at the sky where the first fireworks were already beginning to rise. 7, 6, 5. Emily, Victoria called, breathless. The server turned, surprised. Miss Victoria, what? 4, 3, 2. May I? Victoria asked, coming closer. Emily's eyes widened as she understood the question. She nodded slightly, unable to speak. 1. Happy New Year. Outside, the sky exploded in a kaleidoscope of colors. Red, gold, green, blue, silver, fireworks rising simultaneously from all over Manhattan, reflecting in the dark waters of the Hudson, and there, in that simple corridor, away from the spotlights and cameras, away from the luxury and appearances, Victoria leaned in and pressed her lips softly against Emily's. The kiss was tender, almost shy at first. Emily's lips were soft and tasted like mint. Her hands rose hesitantly to touch Victoria's arms, as if she couldn't believe this was real. When they separated a few seconds later, both were breathless and with teary eyes. Happy New Year, Victoria whispered. Happy New Year, Emily responded, her voice trembling. They stood there, hands still lightly touching, while the fireworks continued exploding outside, illuminating their faces with changing colors. Why did you do that? Emily finally asked. Because for the first time in a long time, I looked at someone and saw a real person. Not a disguised interest, not a business opportunity, but a genuine person with real dreams and true kindness. Tears slid down Emily's cheeks. You barely know me. I know. But I want to know you. I want to know everything about you. Your dreams, your fears, your grandmother, your college. I want to know the real Emily, not an edited version of her. We're from different worlds, Victoria. This can't work. Maybe. Or maybe it's exactly what we both need. Someone from a different world who makes us see beyond our own bubbles. Voices approached. Other staff members returning to the corridors after midnight. I need to get back to work, Emily said reluctantly. I know, but can I see you again? After you leave here? Emily hesitated, clearly torn between desire and fear. I don't know if it's a good idea. Please. Victoria took her hand. Just coffee. A conversation. No pressure. No expectations. Just two people getting to know each other. After a long moment, Emily finally nodded. My shift ends at 3 a.m. I'll be waiting. They separated reluctantly, Emily returning to her duties and Victoria returning to the ballroom, where a different chaos awaited her. The 5 women were where she had left them, but now their faces showed a mixture of anger, confusion, and something resembling humiliation. Where were you? Patricia asked coldly. Kissing someone else, Victoria responded honestly, and saw all their eyes widen. Who? Rachel demanded. That's none of your business. Of course it is, Diana practically screamed. We invested time in you, Victoria. Time, energy, expectations. And there's the problem, Victoria said calmly. Investment. As if I were a stock in the market, as if I owed you some return. You're being ridiculous, Catherine said, her voice cutting. You're throwing away incredible opportunities because of what? A New Year's whim? Maybe it's a whim. Or maybe it's the first honest decision I've made in years. Victoria looked at each of them. I appreciate your interest sincerely. But I'm not what you're looking for, and you're definitely not what I'm looking for. She walked away, leaving 5 stunned women in her wake, and for the first time that evening, felt she could breathe freely. The following hours were the longest of Victoria's life. She wandered through the party like a ghost, mechanically responding to New Year's greetings, posing for some obligatory photos with other business people, but her mind was completely elsewhere. It was with Emily, reliving that kiss in the corridor, remembering the softness of her lips, the surprise in her eyes, the way her hands trembled when touching her arm. It had been magical in a way Victoria hadn't experienced in years, perhaps had never truly experienced. The 5 suitors had disappeared shortly after the confrontation, and Victoria didn't see them for the rest of the evening. Not that she cared. She felt lighter without that weight of expectations and subtle manipulations. At 2:30 in the morning, when most guests had already left or were stumbling drunk through the hotel corridors, Victoria retreated to the area near the staff exit. She sat on a discreet bench, her burgundy silk dress now slightly wrinkled after hours of partying, but she didn't care. Her heart beat rapidly. What if Emily had changed her mind? What if she decided this was all too crazy? What if... The staff door opened, and Emily came out. She had changed out of her uniform into simple clothes, a basic white blouse and faded jeans. Her hair was now loose, falling in chestnut waves over her shoulders. Without the work uniform, she looked even younger, more vulnerable, and somehow even more beautiful. Her eyes found Victoria immediately, and for a moment, neither of them moved. Then Emily smiled, a small, shy, but genuine smile, and Victoria felt her heart melt. You actually waited, Emily said, approaching. I said I would. Victoria stood up, tired, exhausted. Emily laughed softly, but strangely, awake. I know the feeling. Victoria hesitated, still up for that coffee. Emily looked around, as if checking whether anyone was watching. I don't know where to find a coffee shop open at this hour that isn't some sketchy place. I know a place. Victoria pulled out her phone and typed quickly. My driver can take us, if you trust me. I barely know you enough to trust, Emily said, but there was playfulness in her voice. but something tells me I can. 15 minutes later, they were sitting in a small 24-hour diner in Brooklyn. The place was simple, with formica tables and uncomfortable chairs, but it was clean and welcoming, with the wonderful smell of fresh bread being baked in the back. They were the only customers besides two middle-aged men discussing baseball in the corner. "This isn't exactly the type of place I imagined you'd frequent," Emily said, watching Victoria in her evening gown sit down in a plastic chair. "Why not?" Victoria asked, genuinely curious. "Because you. Rich, sophisticated, accustomed to 5-star restaurants and French champagne." "I am those things," Victoria admitted, "but I'm also someone who grew up eating homemade cookies at my grandmother's house in Vermont, someone who prefers strong black coffee to any elaborate drink, someone who," she stopped, surprising herself with her own honesty, "someone who's tired of pretending all the time." A sleepy server brought 2 black coffees and a plate of still warm bagels. Emily took one and bit into it, closing her eyes in appreciation. "This is almost as good as what my grandmother used to make," she said. "Tell me about her," Victoria asked. "Your grandmother." And Emily talked. The words flowed naturally, as if she had been waiting a long time for someone who really wanted to listen. She told about Grandma Rosa, a strong woman who had worked her entire life as a seamstress to raise 3 orphaned grandchildren. She told about the nights when they all slept together in a single room of a tiny apartment in Brooklyn, but how that room was always full of love and laughter. She told about how her grandmother never gave up, even when money barely covered food, even when neighbors looked on with pity. How she taught Emily that dignity had no price, that honest work was worth more than easy money, that kindness was the greatest wealth anyone could have. "She has diabetes now," Emily said, her voice getting lower. "The medications are expensive, and the clinic doesn't always have everything she needs. That's why I work so hard, take all the extra shifts I can. I need to take care of her like she took care of me." Victoria listened to everything in silence, her hand instinctively seeking Emily's across the table. "She raised an incredible granddaughter," she said softly. Emily blushed. "Thank you. Now tell me about nursing. Why did you choose this profession?" Emily's eyes sparkled. "When I was 12, my grandmother got very sick. She spent days in the hospital, and I stayed there with her. There was a nurse, Miss Thompson, who was so kind. She didn't just care for my grandmother, but cared for me too. She explained what was happening, let me help with small things, made me feel useful instead of scared." "And you decided you wanted to be like her?" "Yes. I want to make other people feel cared for, safe, seen. Especially people like my grandmother, who lived difficult lives and deserve dignity and respect in their most vulnerable moments." Victoria squeezed her hand. "You're going to be an extraordinary nurse." "I still have 2 years before I graduate, if I can make it." Emily sighed. "College tuition keeps going up, and with Grandma's medications, you'll make it," Victoria said with conviction. "I have no doubt." They sat in silence for a moment, just holding hands across the table, drinking already cold coffee. "Your turn," Emily said finally. "Tell me about you, the real Victoria, not the Ashford heiress." Victoria hesitated. She was so used to keeping secrets, to maintaining walls around her. But something about Emily made her want to be vulnerable. "My mother died when I was 16, she began. "Cancer. My father never really recovered. He buried himself in work, building the Ashford empire as if he could fill the hole she left with money and power." "I'm sorry," Emily whispered. "I became exactly like him, worked obsessively, built relationships based on mutual interest, kept everyone at a safe distance. Because if you don't really care, you can't really get hurt. But you feel lonely." It wasn't a question, it was a statement. And it was absolutely true, every day, Victoria admitted, surprised tears stinging her eyes. "I live surrounded by people, but I feel completely alone, until tonight. Until I saw you." "Why me?" Emily asked, genuinely confused. "I'm just a server trying to survive. You could have anyone." "Exactly why? You don't want anything from me. You don't know my net worth, haven't calculated how I could be useful for your plans. You just exist. Genuinely, honestly." And when I looked at you, for the first time in years, I saw someone real. Emily wiped a tear that escaped down Victoria's face. You're real too. Underneath all that glamour and money, you're just a person who wants to be seen, like all of us. How do you see me? Victoria asked, her voice vulnerable. Emily thought for a moment. I see someone who's tired of their own world. Someone who has a huge heart but is afraid to use it. Someone who kissed a complete stranger at midnight because, for a moment, she chose to feel instead of think. You're right about all of that. And you? Emily turned the question around. How do you see me? I see strength disguised as softness. I see someone who works 3 shifts but still finds energy to genuinely smile. I see someone who puts everyone before herself but never complains. I see... Victoria stopped, surprised by the truth of her own words. I see someone I could easily fall in love with. The air between them became charged. Emily didn't withdraw her hand. Victoria, she said softly, this is crazy. You know that, right? We met a few hours ago. We're from completely different worlds. This shouldn't work. I know, Victoria agreed. But it worked a few hours ago. Could it work again? I don't know. But Emily smiled. That smile that transformed her entire face. I'm willing to find out. And there, in that simple diner in Brooklyn, at 4 a.m. on the first day of the new year, with cold coffee and bagels, Victoria felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: hope. The following days were like living in 2 parallel universes that occasionally intersected in wonderful and terrifying ways. During the day, Victoria was the Ashford heiress, meetings with board of directors, decisions about million-dollar investments, dinners with politicians and business people. Her world as always, cold, calculated, efficient. But at night, she transformed into just Victoria, the woman who waited for Emily to finish her shifts at the hotel, the woman who discovered small cafes in neighborhoods she had never set foot in, the woman who laughed genuinely for the first time in years. They met whenever they could, stealing moments between Emily's shifts and Victoria's obligations. A quick coffee before work, a walk along the Brooklyn Bridge after midnight. Text messages exchanged during the day. Silly things that made both smile at their screens like teenagers. You're different, commented James, Victoria's assistant for over 10 years, during a meeting at Ashford Properties headquarters. More light. Am I? Victoria tried to sound casual, but couldn't hide her smile. You've been smiling at your phone for 5 minutes, and you've only accepted half the social meetings you used to accept. James leaned in conspiratorially. Is there someone? Victoria considered denying it, but realized she didn't want to. Maybe. Who's the lucky person? It's complicated. Love always is, James smiled. But you deserve it, Victoria. You deserve to be happy. But not everything was simple. The 5 suitors hadn't completely disappeared. Patricia sent frequent emails about unmissable investment opportunities. Rachel appeared at events she knew Victoria would attend. Jennifer continued tagging Victoria in social media posts. Catherine left messages about urgent meetings. And Diana was the most persistent, sending expensive gifts and sugary messages that made Victoria roll her eyes. They don't give up, Victoria commented one evening, while walking with Emily along the High Line, her expensive shoes in her hand. You're a valuable prize, Emily said. But there was tension in her voice. I'm not a prize. I'm a person. To them, you're both. Emily stopped, looking at the city lights. Victoria, I need to ask something. And I need you to be honest with me, always. Why are you doing this? Going out with me? Getting to know my world? Pretending you can be part of it? You have 5 rich and sophisticated women after you. You could have anyone from your social level. Why a server who lives in Brooklyn and can barely pay her bills? The pain in Emily's voice made Victoria's heart tighten. She held both of her hands. I'm not pretending anything. And I'm not going out with you because you're a server. I'm going out with you because you're Emily. Because when I'm with you, I can just be myself. Because you make me laugh, make me think, make me want to be a better person. But our worlds are so different, Victoria. You live in penthouses and I share a room with my grandmother. You dine at restaurants that cost what I earn in a month. Do you think I care about that? You should. Because sooner or later, reality will hit, and I'm going to be the one who gets hurt the most. Victoria pulled Emily closer. Then let's make reality work. Together. How? I don't know yet, but I want to try. Unless... Victoria hesitated, fear suddenly gripping her throat. Unless you don't want to. Emily looked at her for a long moment, her eyes reflecting the city lights around them. Then she leaned in and kissed Victoria softly, there on the High Line, with the city sprawling below them. I want to, she whispered against her lips. God help me. But I want to. But as Emily had predicted, reality soon came knocking. It happened a week after New Year's. Victoria was waiting for Emily at the staff exit of the plaza when she was approached by a familiar group of 5 women. Patricia, Rachel, Jennifer, Catherine, and Diana. All impeccably dressed, all with expressions ranging from fake concern to barely disguised anger. Victoria, we need to talk, Rachel said, her tone leaving no room for argument. We have nothing to talk about. Yes, we do. Patricia approached. We're worried about you. This recent behavior isn't normal. What behavior? You know very well. Diana practically spat, walking around with a hotel employee. People are talking, Victoria. They're speculating. Let them speculate. Don't you understand what you're doing to your reputation? Catherine crossed her arms. To your family's reputation? Ashford is a respected name throughout America, and you're throwing it all away because of a whim. It's not a whim, Victoria said, her voice dangerously low. No? Jennifer stepped forward. Then what is it? Love? You barely know this girl. I know enough. You're being naive, Rachel said, trying to sound gentle but failing. Girls like her see women like you and see an opportunity, a way out of poverty, a winning ticket. Anger rose hot in Victoria's chest. Emily is nothing like that. How can you be sure? Patricia asked. Victoria, darling, we know you've been lonely for a long time. We understand the desire for companionship, but don't throw away everything you've built because of what? Emily's voice cut through the air. Everyone turned. Emily was there, emerged from the staff door, still in her uniform, her eyes shining with unshed tears, but her jaw firmly set. Emily, Victoria began, but the young woman raised her hand. No, let me hear. I want to know what these ladies think of me. She looked at each of the 5 women. Do you think I'm using Victoria? That I'm a gold digger? An opportunist? We're just concerned about our friend's well-being, Patricia said, but her words sounded hollow. Friend? Emily laughed, but there was no humor in that sound. You're not her friends. You're vultures circling around what she can offer you. How dare you? Diana began. I dare because it's the truth. I worked at that New Year's party. I saw how you treated her. How you competed for her attention as if she were an object. How you calculated every word, every gesture, every smile. You talk about interest, but you're the ones who wanted something from her. And you don't? Catherine challenged. Not the way you do. Emily looked at Victoria, and her next words were only for her. I don't want your money. I don't want your status. I don't want your connections. I just want you. The woman who laughs at my terrible puns. The woman who genuinely cares about my grandmother without ever having met her. The woman who makes me feel seen for the first time in my life. Emily, Victoria whispered, tears sliding down her face. But they're right about one thing. Emily wiped her own tears. Our worlds are too different, and I don't want to be the reason you lose everything you've built. I don't want you to look at me one day and resent all the things you sacrificed. Are you breaking up with me? Victoria asked, her voice breaking. I'm setting you free, Emily said softly, before it's too late, before we both get hurt too much. She turned and started walking, but Victoria ran after her, grabbing her arm. No, I don't accept that. I don't accept you giving up on us because 5 bitter women planted doubts in your head. It's not just them, Victoria. It's reality. It's the world. It's fear, Victoria completed. Yours and mine. But you know what I learned from you? That the best things in life come when we're brave enough to choose what our heart wants, not what our head says is safe. Emily looked at her, indecision written in every line of her face. Stay with me, Victoria pleaded. Let's fight together. Against them. Against the gossip. Against the world if necessary. But don't give up on us before we've really tried. What if it doesn't work? What if it does? Victoria counter-argued. Emily, I've spent my entire life making safe, calculated, practical decisions. And all of them left me empty. You're the first thing in years that makes me feel alive. Don't ask me to give that up, please. The silence stretched, heavy and tense. The 5 suitors watched, clearly hoping Emily would make what they considered the right choice. The one that would push her away from Victoria. But Emily didn't make the right choice. She made the true choice. She intertwined her fingers with Victoria's and turned to face the 5 women. You were right about one thing, she said. Victoria deserves more. She deserves more than being treated like a trophy or a bank account. She deserves to be loved for who she is, not what she has. And I'm going to spend every day proving I can give that to her. Then, in front of the 5 shocked women, Emily pulled Victoria into a kiss. Not shy or hesitant like before, but confident and declarative. A kiss that told the world, this is my choice, and I won't apologize for it. When they separated, Victoria was smiling through her tears. Let's go home, she said. And Emily nodded, and they walked together, leaving 5 stunned women and a world of expectations behind. The following months weren't easy. New York society buzzed with gossip about the Ashford heiress and her server girlfriend. Gossip magazines published photos of them together, always with sensationalist headlines. Some business people questioned Victoria's judgment in meetings. Her social media exploded with comments, some supportive, many cruelly critical. The 5 ex-suitors didn't help. Patricia spread rumors that Victoria was having an identity crisis. Rachel insinuated in interviews that ambitious young women targeted wealthy women. Jennifer posted old photos of her and Victoria with nostalgic captions. Catherine conveniently withdrew business proposals. And Diana was the worst, hiring paparazzi to follow Victoria and Emily, trying to capture moments that could be distorted. But there were also moments of unexpected beauty. James, Victoria's assistant, became a fierce ally, protecting them from the media whenever possible. Some younger members of Ashford Properties Board expressed public support. And to Victoria's surprise, her father, whom she thought would be disappointed, showed up for dinner one evening with Emily. You remind me of your mother, he said to Emily at the end of the evening, tears shining in his tired eyes. She was authentic like that too. Didn't care what people said, just loved with all her heart. Thank you, Mr. Ashford, Emily said softly. Call me Robert. And thank you for making my daughter smile again. Victoria also got to know Emily's world. Grandma Rosa, the formidable grandmother who had raised 3 grandchildren alone, received Victoria with skepticism at first. You're that rich girl who's dating my granddaughter, she said bluntly the first time they met in the small Brooklyn apartment. Yes, ma'am. And what do you want with her? An adventure? Something to tell your rich friends? Victoria looked directly into the elderly woman's eyes. I want to love her, if she'll let me. I want to build a life with her, if she wants to. I want to be worthy of the incredible heart she has, if I can. Grandma Rosa studied Victoria for a long moment. Then her stern face softened into a smile. You have courage, girl, and my Emily needs someone with courage by her side. Welcome to the family. And so, slowly, 2 lives intertwined. Victoria began using her fortune in ways that truly mattered. She created a scholarship fund for low-income nursing students, financed improvements to the community clinic in Brooklyn, invested in community programs in forgotten neighborhoods of New York. Emily inspired her to see beyond financial statements and profit reports, to see real people with real needs. And Emily? She finished her nursing degree 2 years later. At the top of her class, Victoria was in the audience, applauding louder than anyone when Emily received her diploma. You did it, Victoria whispered when Emily came down from the stage, tears of pride streaming down her face. Without help, with your own efforts. I'm so proud of you. It wasn't without help, Emily corrected, holding Victoria's face. You were by my side in every difficult moment. You encouraged me when I wanted to give up. You believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself. I'll always believe in you. The graduation party was at Grandma Rosa's apartment. Small, noisy, full of genuine people who truly loved Emily. Victoria had never felt more at home. She looked around, at Emily's siblings laughing at a joke, at Grandma Rosa showing old photos to neighbors, at James, whom she had insisted on inviting, dancing in an absolutely embarrassing way, at the building's children running everywhere, and realized something fundamental. This was what had been missing in her life. It wasn't a bigger apartment, or more money, or more power. It was connection. It was community. It was love that had no price. "What are you thinking about?" Emily asked, coming to sit beside her on the worn sofa. "I'm thinking that those 5 women were right about one thing." "What?" "You are a winning ticket," Victoria smiled. "Just not the way they thought. You're the victory of finding something real in a world of falseness. Of finding true love when I had given up looking." Emily took her hand. "You know what's funny? I spent that New Year's Eve serving champagne to rich people, wishing I had what they had. The money, the glamour, the easy life. But now I realize I always had the most valuable thing." "What?" "The ability to love without calculating. To give without expecting return. To see value in people, not in things." Emily smiled. "And you taught me that people from your world can have that too. They just need to choose to have it." 6 months later, Victoria made another decision that shocked her social circle. She sold her penthouse in Manhattan and bought a smaller apartment. Still comfortable, still beautiful, but without ostentation. She donated half the difference to causes Emily chose: public health, education, programs for young people in communities. "You don't have to do this for me," Emily protested when Victoria told her. "I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for us, for who I want to be when I'm with you, for who you inspired me to be." She also formally distanced herself from the 5 ex-suitors. Patricia eventually found another investor and another romantic interest. Rachel moved to Washington, D.C., focusing on her political career. Jennifer married an influencer and seemed genuinely happy. Catherine sold her company and retired. And Diana? Well, Diana continued doing what she always did, looking for the next big prize. Victoria didn't hate them. In fact, she understood them better now. They were products of the same world that had shaped Victoria, a world that taught that relationships were transactions, that love was currency, that vulnerability was weakness. But Victoria had learned differently. She learned from a server who worked 3 shifts, but still found time to be kind. She learned from a grandmother who raised 3 children alone, but never lost her compassion. She learned that real strength came from choosing love, even when it was difficult, even when it didn't make sense on paper, even when the entire world told you that you were wrong. Did you like this story? Then share it with that friend who needs to believe that true love exists. And don't forget to leave in the comments, what would you do in Victoria's place? Would you choose love or security? Leave your answer down below. On the 2nd anniversary of that midnight kiss, Victoria and Emily returned to the Plaza Hotel. But this time not as guest and employee, but as guests of honor for a charity gala that Victoria herself had organized, an event to raise funds for nursing scholarships. When they arrived at the grand ballroom, that same ballroom where they first saw each other, Victoria stopped. "What's wrong?" Emily asked, worried. "I'm just remembering. 2 years ago, I was here, surrounded by 5 women who wanted something from me. I felt so lonely, so empty. And then I looked at you. And now? Now I'm here with the woman I love. The woman who taught me that real wealth has nothing to do with money, who showed me that courage is choosing the heart over logic, who made me believe in true love again." Victoria knelt right there, in the middle of the ballroom, in front of all the guests who were beginning to arrive. She pulled a small box from her pocket. Not an extravagant jewel, but a simple gold ring with a small emerald. "Emily Rodriguez, you freed me from my golden prison. You taught me to live, not just exist. You showed me that the best things in life can't be bought, only felt. Will you do me the honor of spending the rest of your life reminding me of that? Will you marry me?" Emily was crying, her hands covering her mouth. The entire ballroom had stopped, all eyes on them. "Yes," she finally whispered. And then louder, "Yes, 1,000 times yes. When they kissed, the ballroom exploded in applause. And there, through the windows, as if the universe was celebrating with them, fireworks began bursting in the Manhattan sky, an off-season display commissioned by Victoria as a surprise. Red, gold, green, blue. Exactly like that New Year's Eve 2 years ago. But this time, when the fireworks illuminated their faces, there was no fear or uncertainty. There was only love. Real. Deep. True. And at the back of the ballroom, 5 women who had arrived late to the event watched in silence. Patricia, Rachel, Jennifer, Catherine, and Diana, all invited because Victoria believed in second chances, in forgiveness, in moving forward. They saw Victoria and Emily embracing, crying with happiness, and for the first time, perhaps understood what they had lost. Not Victoria's fortune, not her connections, but the chance to know the real woman behind it all. She looks happy, Patricia said softly. Happier than we've ever seen her, Rachel agreed. The server really loves her, Jennifer murmured, and there was no more disdain in her voice, only a kind of melancholic admiration. Maybe, Catherine said thoughtfully. We were looking in the wrong place all along. We looked for what we could gain, not what we could give. Diana said nothing, but her silent tears said everything. And then, one by one, they approached Victoria and Emily. Congratulations, Patricia said, extending her hand. Truly, this time, you two deserve all the happiness in the world. The others followed, each offering congratulations that were, for the first time, genuine. Victoria received them with grace, because that's what Emily had taught her, that forgiving doesn't mean forgetting, but choosing not to let the past poison the future. When the evening finally ended, Victoria and Emily stood alone on the hotel terrace, looking at the city. It was a long journey to get here, Emily said, resting her head on Victoria's shoulder. It was. But it was worth every difficult moment, every obstacle, every doubt. Do you think our differences will always be a challenge? Victoria thought for a moment. Yes. But I also think it's our differences that make us strong. You keep me grounded when I start floating too high. I encourage you to dream bigger when you underestimate yourself. Together, we're balanced. Together, Emily repeated, liking how the word sounded. Always. And there, under the stars of New York, with the sound of the city below them, and the engagement ring sparkling on Emily's finger, 2 women from impossibly different worlds found their own version of forever. Because in the end, true love knows no barriers of class, or social expectations, or economic differences. True love sees only 2 souls who choose, every day, to be together. And that choice is worth more than all the money in the world. Epilogue. 5 years later, the Rosa Rodriguez Community Clinic, named in honor of Emily's grandmother, who had passed away peacefully 2 years before, opened its doors in the heart of Brooklyn on a sunny spring morning. It was a state-of-the-art community clinic, offering free or affordable medical services to residents of underserved neighborhoods. Funded by the Ashford Rodriguez Foundation, a nonprofit organization Victoria and Emily had created together, the clinic represented everything they believed: that health is a right, not a privilege. Emily, now a certified nurse and clinic coordinator, cut the ribbon at the inauguration alongside Victoria, her wife of 3 years. They wore simple gold wedding bands, nothing extravagant, just solid and eternal, like their love. Grandma would be so proud, Emily whispered, tears sliding down her face. She is proud, Victoria corrected, squeezing her hand. Wherever she is, she knows she raised an extraordinary woman who's changing lives. The clinic quickly filled with residents. Mothers bringing children for vaccines, elderly people seeking treatment for chronic conditions, young people looking for health information. And Emily was in her element, smiling, caring, doing exactly what she was born to do. Victoria watched from afar, her heart overflowing with love and pride. She had sold more properties, restructured her empire, now focusing on social impact investments. There were criticisms, of course. Some said she was wasting the family fortune. But Victoria didn't care, because when she came home every night to Emily's arms, to the apartment they shared, modest by the standards she grew up with but full of love, to the life they had built together. She knew she was the richest woman in the world. And when she lay down at night, listening to Emily's soft breathing beside her, Victoria always thought about that New Year's Eve 5 years ago. She thought about how 5 women had wanted her attention, how all of them saw in her only what could be useful. And then she thought about how Emily, a server working to survive, had looked at her and seen only a person who needed to be loved, a person who deserved to choose the heart over the head. That midnight kiss had changed everything, and Victoria wouldn't trade this life, this beautiful, chaotic, perfect life, for anything in this world. Because in the end, she discovered what she always wanted but never knew to look for. It wasn't wealth or power or status, it was love. Simple, complicated, challenging, redemptive, eternal love. And she found it in the brown eyes of a server who had the courage to see her truly. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss our next stories. Leave in the comments, do you believe love can overcome any barrier? Share this video with someone special. Until the next story. Claude é uma IA e pode cometer erros. Por favor, verifique as respostas. Sonei 4. 5 Claude é uma IA e pode cometer erros. Por favor, verifique as respostas.